What's up, YouTube? I am Solbash. We are about to check out the top 10 most extreme natural disasters that might happen in 2021. And now, I don't know if 2020 was bad enough. I mean, quarantine and everything else. How much worse can it get? Let's find out.
From things under the water, to the Earth's surface, to our galaxy and solar system, there are so many things that really could go wrong for us that we have little to no control over. On today's most amazing top 10 list, I'll be covering just a few of the most extreme natural disasters that we could see in 2021. Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot today, we have the Yellowstone National Park supervolcano.
Now, I have heard about this, and this is probably one of the wildest ones for the United States. I could probably tell you on this list.
Yellowstone National Park is located in the western United States and is a beautiful park with lakes and canyons and mountain ranges. While the word supervolcano sounds very cool, it is actually a pretty terrifying concept, and Yellowstone National Park sits right on top of one. If this volcano wasn't currently active, it would be no big deal, but that is not the case here. The last time the volcano erupted was 630,000 years ago, which I know is a very, very long time. But the scientists who study volcanoes have discovered that this supervolcano erupts every 600 to 700,000 years. This means
like it's pretty much time, right? Any year now?
That it really could just decide to erupt any day from today to long after we're all dead. I sure am hoping for the latter. The eruption of this volcano could end human civilization, so let's hope that it can hold out to that 700,000 year mark. So
100%, this thing goes off, like it's game over. Like, I don't care if you're not close to it or not. It's no sunlight for a while, buddy.
We don't have anything to worry about. Moving on to number 9, we have the Helena Slump. This unstable slope is located just south of Hawaii's biggest island, and every so often it creates a landslide that is the cause of tsunamis. There is evidence that around 120,000 years ago, there was a really large landslide on the slope that caused a tsunami over 400 meters high. The most recent tsunami caused by the slump was in 1975, and it managed to reach all the way to California. The slump could potentially drop 12,000 cubic meters of rock into the Pacific Ocean, which would create a mega tsunami that would travel through the Pacific Ocean and even reach the western seaboard in just a few hours.
That's wild. Literally, it's nothing but rock and dirt falling in the ocean, but that's causing this. Holy crap.
This would totally ruin any coastal communities. While scientists are pretty sure we have a while until there's a landslide on the slope so big that it generates a mega tsunami, the Earth is always changing, and all it would take would be a strong jolt from an earthquake, so we never really know. Moving on down to number 8, we have heat waves. While I enjoy a nice hot summer day, there certainly is a limit. Because of climate change, we are facing changes in temperatures that could be detrimental. Heat waves are becoming increasingly more common, and if greenhouse gas emissions aren't significantly decreased, we'll keep seeing these temperature changes. There are many threats that extreme heat poses, but it is also one of the leading causes of weather-related deaths. Some other threats include wildfires, threats to agriculture and livestock, and it can even lower the ability of power transmission lines, which could potentially lead to unreliable electricity. Even just a few degrees is cause for concern, so maybe it is time we change our ways and get the big corporations who are responsible for the majority of our emissions on board to drive us towards a brighter and cooler future.
Facts. Like, these corporations are probably one of the main reasons we're heading in higher degree temperatures over the years, so like, I'm sure they could throw in a little bit to help out.
Headed on to our number 7 spot, we have another supervolcano, but this time we're headed into Lake Toba in Indonesia. The last time this supervolcano erupted was roughly 74,000 years ago, but it is said that the eruption was so devastating it almost wiped out humans entirely. To think that we could not be here watching this video right now is crazy. The reason that the volcano eruption was so devastating is because it is believed that after it erupted, it sent the world into an ice ice age, cooling some regions as much as 15 degrees Celsius. I would have thought the aftermath of a volcano would do the opposite, but I am very obviously not a scientist. While people who are actually scientists believe that we still have a while until a large eruption, the volcano's magma chamber is still very active. Continuing on in our number 6 spot, we have a potential phosphorus shortage. This is something I never thought I'd ever have to think about, but alas. For hundreds of years, there has been a worry of not being able to feed Earth's ever-growing population, and near the turn of the 20th century, this really came to a head because of the lack of nitrates and ammonia available. Luckily, the German chemists Fritz Haber and Karl Bosch were able to come up with a process that takes gas from the air and turns it into fertilizer. Problem solved, right? Well, yes, until
you run out of it in the air, right?
began to realize our shortage of phosphorus. Our bodies need phosphorus for things like moving around energy and to build DNA and cells. While we aren't going to run out of phosphorus tomorrow, we are about 30 to 40 years away, but the push for biofuel could push us even closer to the edge. This is really stressful because biofuel is so important and we need to start using it more, but then it will create this phosphorus problem. Hopefully our scientists will be able to find a solution for both of these problems and save us.
I had never heard about that before. Phosphorus. Who would have thought?
Halfway point coming in at number 5, we have the thermohaline circulation and its potential shutdown. There are a lot of these cool built-in systems that Earth has that we don't even realize are happening around us, or at least I don't. Some of these systems, if altered, could create climate changes for centuries. Scientists have been warning us about climate change for years, and this is just one of the many reasons why. If the Arctic ice melts too quickly and the new freshwater spreads across the North Atlantic Ocean, it will shut down a looping global current that is vital to the Earth's climate called thermohaline circulation, or THC. Not that kind of THC. The THC is run off a mix of heat and density, and the circulation of it helps transport heat around the world. As an example, Atlantic surface waters warm up near Florida and then flow northeast towards Europe. This is part of the reason why London has a fairly mild climate, even though it's on the same latitude as the very cold Calgary, which is in Alberta, Canada, and also Kiev in the Ukraine.
That is wild. So they're on the same climate level, but their temperatures are so variable. That is crazy to think.
If the THC shut down, it could cause a sort of mini ice age. The THC has shut down before, so it is possible that if it did shut down, it would eventually be up and running again, but the worst case scenario is that a mini ice age combined with our already changing climate could be detrimental to the human race. Moving on to number 4, we have the potential of an asteroid hitting Earth. We all know
this is always a possibility, and it ain't like there's just a whole lot we could do if it's larger than, you know, a certain amount of size. I would think.
Or at least have heard that the dinosaurs were wiped out by an asteroid. If an asteroid were to hit Earth now, there is a good chance it would have a similar effect, but this time on humans. There have been dozens of asteroids that have nearly missed Earth, and a lot of them have been known and had their paths calculated beforehand to ensure our safety. But there also have been a lot of near misses that weren't seen until right before, or sometimes even after the asteroid had already passed. There have been
I mean, that's the thing. Like, space is infinitely large. Like, there's no possible way we could always be looking in every direction for something like this. Like, and coming within probably, you know, I would say 1,000,000 miles is a close call to something coming in contact with Earth. Like, that's really close, considering like the moon. You think it's only barely less than 250,000 miles away.
There have been 5 near misses in 2020 alone. In 2028, there's an asteroid called 1997XF11 that will come extremely close to hitting Earth, but as of right now, scientists believe that it will miss the planet. If this asteroid were to hit Earth, it would be a mile-wide asteroid hitting Earth at about 30,000 miles per hour, which is similar to a 1 million megaton bomb, which would most likely wipe out most of all the life on Earth. So let's hope that doesn't happen, or Elon Musk can send us to Mars by 2028.
Let's go, Elon.
Heading to our number 3 spot, we have a potential earthquake. Back in 2014, there was an earthquake in
that's
Chile that had a magnitude of
day, pretty much.
8.2. The earthquake was caused by the meeting of two of Earth's continental plates, the Pacific Plate and the Nazca Plate. But scientists believe that this earthquake could have been the start of something bigger. The previous earthquake was called a megathrust, and it was pretty bad.
I mean, that sounds pretty dirty, to be honest.
It triggered landslides, cut power, and created a tsunami, but it is believed that this earthquake only released 1/3 of the built-up tension between the plates. That could mean that an even larger, more deadly earthquake could be headed for the same area, and it is expected to happen sometime soon. Headed down to number 2, we have the potential for solar storms and a solar flare. The sun is the center of our universe and is one of the most important things for human life. The sun goes through its own phases and has increases and decreases in activity. When the sun is very active, it can cause a solar flare. A powerful flare can be accompanied by coronal mass ejection, which is a billion-ton cloud of magnetized plasma. While this sort of process happens sometimes, it is usually okay for us and we would never even know, but there is a possibility for it to be so huge that it really impacts us. What this could mean for us is that the electromagnetic pulses that are generated by it.
Yeah, so before she even says it, like, something that large solar flare that would affect the Earth would literally just pretty much like an EMP bomb going off and just taking all electrical anything out. So we would definitely know if something happened like that.
Could cause terrible damage or even knock out most of our electronics.
Yep.
One of the worst times this happened in our recent history was in 1921, and it ended up knocking out the US telegraph service. But with how much technology we have today, if something similar were to happen, it could knock out many satellite systems, which would ruin all global communications, the internet, and even GPS.
Imagine being sent back to the 1920s just like that. I mean, that'd be rough.
It would be absolute chaos if that happened. While we never really know what is going to happen, it is said that there is only a 12% chance of this happening in the next decade. I would prefer a 0% chance, but I guess 12 will have to do. And in our number 1 spot today, we have what is known as the big one. At the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, just off the west coast of North America, there is a subduction zone. A subduction zone is an area where two tectonic plates have collided and one begins to slide underneath the other, curving down into the mantle, which is the hot layer underneath the crust of the Earth. At this specific subduction zone, the Pacific Ocean floor is being pushed under North America. It is actually moving 40 millimeters a year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that's kind of crazy. What's not so good about this though is that the upper part, or the North American part, is actually stuck and is being compressed, and at some point it is going to need to release all that built up pressure. This is where the big one comes in. The release of the pressure is going to be an earthquake, but it's going to be huge, with a potential magnitude of 9. This could potentially cause the coastal region to sink up to 2 meters and move horizontally up to 30 meters. After the shaking of the earthquake is over, it will be time for the tsunami. I'm not sure if you guys remember the 2011 earthquake that caused a tsunami in Japan, but they are saying that this one could be even bigger than that. And that is not to make the 2011 tsunami seem small, because it was absolutely catastrophic. Around 7 million people will be affected if this happens, from Vancouver to Seattle, Tacoma, and Portland. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thank you so much for checking it out. I'm your host, Olivia Kozlowski, and I'll see you next time.
That was wild. So that's crazy to think, like, we've literally just been worried about kind of just like quarantine and this one thing for an entire year, pretty much. And there's so much out there that could just like instantly happen that could take us out at any moment. But I mean, that's things you can't ponder about on a daily basis. I mean, I guess that would put you in a really bad spot. But that's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But that's gonna be it for me. I'm Solbash. We'll see you guys in the next one.